Today we are conducting a live interview. Muryu Young is a successful businessman. There have been many media reports about him in the past. Today, I'd like to chat with him about some lighthearted topics. Sure. Let's start with your background and experiences.
Absolutely. I was actually born in Shenyang, Liaoning province. I'm a true northerner, you know. When I start talking, folks are like, this dude's from northeast China, cause the northeastern accent's pretty darn strong. But here's the thing, my roots are actually in a village in Shandong. When my old man was just 5, he and my great-grandma packed up from Shandong and headed to Shenyang up north. His early years were seriously tough and broke. He used to peddle stuff with my great-grandma, you know, like those golden berries, selling odds and ends. He's seen quite a bit from a young age. My pops, when he went to work, always carried this epic lunchbox. When others opened theirs, you could bet his apart. 2 massive corn buns. Gotta be my dad's. Back in the 80s, no electricity in that village. They rocked coal oil lamps. Fast forward to 2000, I rolled back to Shandong with my pops. And guess what? Average monthly income's under 100 RMB per head. Then he bumps into this elderly lady. Chinese New Year and she can't even swing a bit of meat. So my old man pulls out 50 RMB and tells her, go grab some meat. After navigating that, cause he's all about graft and hardship. By the 80s, he starts hustling. In Shenyang's Wuai wholesale market, used to be open air back then. By the 90s, he's rocking 5 stalls in the indoor clothing game. Other families shared a truck for business. But nah, my fam needed more than one. We needed several. Mornings, when the market kicked off at 3, he's already on it. Goods gone by 5. He'd rake in 10,000 RMB in one morning. In the 90s, if you had 10,000 RMB stashed, you were living large. But us, we're pulling in 10,000 RMB every single day. When his game was strong, it was just like this, day in, day out. I come from a family of traders. Growing up in that scene, I'd help my dad out during the school breaks. By the time I hit around 20, I was tagging along with him to Guangdong for business, loading stuff. He was grooming me. I'm his only son. His business was booming. So he's hoping I'd take over the reins.
So you could say that when you were young, you grew up in a very affluent family environment. You didn't experience much hardship during your childhood, right?
Yeah, I didn't struggle much in my early days. With my buddies, I only rolled with the business-minded crew. We'd hit restaurants daily, dropping like 500 or a grand each time. That lifestyle, you know. But then, I got in touch with Falun Gong folks. Back in the 90s, regular folks among them are pulling in just 500 RMB a month. I was like, oh, people live like this?
So, what led you to start practicing Falun Gong?
So, I started learning Falun Gong in 97. Back in 1997, the parks were swarming with Falun Gong practitioners. But my stall was at the wholesale market. Had to be there crack of dawn, never cross pots with them. Then, one day, this Falun Gong lady, a kinda auntie, shows up at my stall with her kid to shop. Kid's got a Maitreya Buddha pendant on. Right beside me, this guy's selling pants. He's into Buddhism too. Dude follow anyone bowing to statues. After bowing, he'd be like, hey, you into Buddhism at home? How many statues you got? Andy's reply, we used to have 3, but now I'm into Falun Gong. So no more statue business. He's like, what's Falun Gong? Auntie's all vague. She's like, it's got moving and meditating exercises. Meditation's all lotus position style. That bit piqued my interest. So, I'm like, hey, auntie, teach me how to meditate. Can you show me the ropes? She's like, sure thing, I'll get you a copy of Xuan Falun tomorrow. The main book. I'm like, nah, no need for Xuan Falun. I just want to learn the moves. She's like, nah, you gotta read this book too. Before you dive in, you gotta grasp the ideas in it. Alright, I said, why did I catch such a meditation bug? You ask. 2 days before the Andy showed up, I saw this TV doc. It was all about this long-living village. Loads of 90-somethings, even a bunch over a century old. Turned out they all meditated. See, before they did anything, like calligraphy or whatever. They'd hit some meditation. Just chill in their minds. Whole village loaded with old-timers, you know. After watching that documentary, I was like, yeah, meditation is actually good for the body. I should totally give it a shot. So fast forward 2 days and there she is. What happened the day before she arrived? I had this dream that felt so real. I was like standing on this high spot, picture this, with these railings and a floor, all made of white jade. Beneath me, there's this whole sea of clouds. Within those clouds, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva pops up. This golden light just beams right towards me. I turn my head, and guess what's up? I could actually see this majestic Buddha chilling in the sky. It's like the size of the sky depended on the size of this Buddha. In front of the Buddha, there's a huge crowd of people, like giving these really valuable treasures or something. It got me thinking, why not? When I actually picked them up, they turned into these 2 big red dates. These dates, man, they were as huge as a cantaloupe melon. I popped one into my mouth, and guess what? It just melted away. Right at that moment, someone starts blabbering about how much these goods are worth. I'm jolted awake, and I had dozed off right there in the market. The next day, the Andy came with the book Falun. I opened it, and when I saw Master's photo on the first page, I felt like I knew it well, but couldn't remember where I'd seen it before. I was particularly familiar with it. The auntie asked, "Think you can tackle Falun in just a week?" "You bet." And I asked her to bring over a hanging scroll. She brought me the 1997 hanging scroll with illustrated exercises and a meditation tape. When I got home and checked it out, man, it was like expertly explained. Why are we here? Where do we even come from? These were exactly the things I'd been chewing on. But you know what? My brain couldn't spit out the answers. And then this book, it just drops the whole wisdom bomb. So, there I am, back home. I'm sitting cross-legged, giving those exercises a shot. And guess what? On my first try, I'm like in the full lotus pose. I stayed like that for the whole 45 minutes. Just when I finished, guess who calls? Auntie's on the line, and she's like, "Tomorrow, dude, there's this massive thing happening. Like over 1,000 people gathering. We're gonna watch Master's lecture on a big screen." This lady's been into it for 2 years, but this is new. She's saying it's gonna be a huge deal. With 1,000 folks or more. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And off I go. I spot Auntie on my left, chilling in full lotus, listening to the lecture. Then there's another Auntie on my right. Same deal. So, I think to myself, let's roll with it. I cross my legs, join the party, and make a little wish. I'm gonna ride this lecture out. Time ticks by. It's been about an hour. Suddenly, my legs started to hurt. I wanted to release the position. Hold up. I might not be done with the book, but I know Master's big on truth, compassion, and patience. I realize, if I chicken out just cause of a little ache, I'm not honoring that wish from the day before. I mean, if I can't hack this, how can I keep growing? So, I'm like, gotta stick it out. And that's what I did. Now, at around an hour and a half mark, my legs start acting up again. The whole let's break free thought creeps in. Meanwhile, the auntie beside me whispers to the other auntie. Goes like, "Hey, check out this young dude. Rocking his first hour and a half session." I'm like, "Ho, somebody's watching." I figure, no quitting allowed now. So, I keep at it. The group session that day, a cool 2 hours. My head's throbbing, but I'm in the game.
Just now, I heard you mention that you used to constantly ponder various questions without finding answers. Could you specifically tell us what questions you were contemplating? Eventually, within Falun Dafa, you said you found the answers.
Now, back in the day, I'd often wonder, is this life a one-shot deal? Any sequels? What's my gig in this world? Just chasing paper. Living the comfy life. That it? Is there a cosmic puppeteer or not? And ghosts, are they for real? Questions galore, but answers? Zilch. Did we spring from monkeys? Or are there deeper tales in the mix? Turns out, all those answers are in Zhuan Falun. A fusion of science and ancient vibes. With heaps of real-life stories too. And then, bam, I get it. Enlightenment dawns like a light bulb moment. Suddenly, I see it. Humans, higher-level origins, my friends. Their gig, to bounce back to those cosmic heights. Return to your true self kind of deal. Wanna aim for it. Bam, your Buddha mode kicks in. Golden glow, brighter than bright. Cosmic echoes from that moment on. I'm thinking, I want to dive in. I want to give this a shot.
When we were young, we were educated with atheism. But Chuan Falun discusses the existence of gods and Buddhas. Is this transformation from atheism to belief in God an easy one for you to make?
It wasn't a walk in the park either. This book's got 9 talks, diving into celestial eyes, spirit possession, and all sorts of deep stuff. Why do monks dodge meat? I'm down for soaking up heaps of it. The whole no meat thing. I'm cool with it. I mean, I'd dig to understand most of it. I'm ready to nod and take it in. And it doesn't go fist to fist with my science-y brain. But then comes the tricky part, the celestial eye, for instance. Chatting about ancient cats with a third eye, like the tale of Erling Shen, and me. I'm like, huh? Can't really see that. Master's got the science spin too. Mixing it up with modern anatomy. Linking that spot to the pineal gland. Full-on human eye specs, tissue and all, tucked in your noggin. It's just hanging out up there. Science goes to generate eye, but the cultivators ain't buying it. But, you know, I still got questions on this front. Let's take possession, for instance. People going all possessed. What's that about? Master chatted about snakes hitching a ride. Cultivation missteps or gold chasing. They roll out the welcome mat for possession. Me, skeptic at heart, I admit. But the more I tread the cultivation road, I bumped into those possessed folks. Picture this, practice site. One dude swears a snake had him on speed dial. During that gig, he gulped gallons like a fish. I raised an eyebrow. Cow bellies, not human ones. Yes, he didn't know where all the water went. Then when he opened the book and saw Master's picture, dude's like, chill down my spine. Tremble so hard, I seal shut. But after he truly cultivated for a period of time, the possession disappeared. Then there's this other guy. His mom's got an altar. Calls it Python Immortal. Dude's not into all that jazz. Thinks Isma's deep into the woo-woo. Burning incense and such. Then one day, Python Immortal talks. Been on Taihong Mountain 800 years, you know. Worship me. I'll be gentle on your fam. But wait for it. Male voice. Mom's talking guy style in Taihong dialect. With real-life stuff piling up. Slowly, I'm boarding the belief train. Yep, it's happening.
I read in a report that you were working as a sales manager at a foreign-funded enterprise.
Yep.
Why didn't you continue with the family business and instead went to work in a company?
Back then, busy with dad's hustle. Later, Pops got sick. Stall got leased out. Falun Gong crackdown came. 7 years on the street. Home's a no-go for 7 years. Business hit pause. Big time. When I returned, a buddy of mine, Northeast big shot in some foreign firm. By chance, the China CEO's in town. Guess who gets the nod? Yep, yours truly. Back then, I was into a gig with CCTV's Big Windmill, an early childhood education show. I was a distributor. Had a 700 square meter spot for $380,000 a year. Paid the landlord $50,000 upfront. Then he bailed on the deal. Tried to keep my deposit too. Solved it though. Got friendly with the landlord. Got my cash back. I told the whole story to the China CEO. It was recent at that point. He liked how I handled things. Saw my skills in action, problem solving and such. Around that time, the landlord even sent thugs. Threatened me, you know. Anyway, the company sells pricey gear, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. He dealt with the high-end crowd. Thought I might be worth a shot. With such pricey gear, 1 sale a year was his goal. That'd satisfy the boss. I did 7 in 6 months. He was really pleased. Then he sent me to Shanghai for expos. Sold another unit there too. He started talking about training me. When I came to the US, he came to the United States specifically to bring me $10,000.
You can help him sell so many products. This must require some skills. Not entirely, just a friendly person. Then people will buy from you, right?
Yeah, that's right. Sure thing. But you gotta understand the equipment itself. Like this high-end machine, testing 72 elements a minute. like testing steel used for car doors. They said it was top-notch steel. When I tested it with spectrometry, my test showed high sulfur levels. Those panels would crack. It's a quality checker. So know the gear. Then there's being genuine. Keeping promises, delivering what you say. I don't promise easily. But when I do, I deliver. Moreover, I have a special talent. I can do magic tricks. At parties or dinners, I'm the magic guy. Even though I don't drink, I entertain with magic tricks and people love it. It boosts their spirits and makes them really happy. In today's world, it's easy to give stuff. But making someone's day genuinely, that's tough. Yet, that's what magic tricks can do. So, when someone senses your good character and your top quality products, they might not buy your stuff right away, but they'd want to be friends. So, when you hit a certain sales level, it's all about your personality shining through. Your vibe makes them feel like they want to be friends, even if they don't buy. Isn't that already half the battle? Absolutely.
So, what opportunity brought you to overseas later on?
I've been to the US 5 times. First 4 times, I smashed a $10 million sales target. Got a reward, a trip to the US. Big deal, only one from my region. So, they sent me on a US adventure, Orlando and Miami. Later on, came to here again with my family for vacation. Been here a lot, 4th time. Got home, exit and entry bureau called. They notified me that my passport had been invalidated. I asked, why? They said, why not? They said, ask the 610 office, ask the National Security Bureau. I actually went to the Exit and Entry Administration Bureau, checked the computer. My passport was invalidated. No reason given. I thought, you canceled my passport. Do I have to listen? Sent it to the South Korean embassy and applied for a visa to South Korea. 5 days. Got a visa. 3 years visa-free. Then I realized the world respects my passport's expiry. The Communist Party invalidated it, but can't be done broadcast to the world. Yu Yang's passport invalid. Impossible. After this test, I got it. I realized my cancelled passport should be sent to Canada's embassy while waiting for Canada visa. Here's what went down. I took my mom to the home of a fellow practitioner who had been arrested, going to demand their release. Almost there. White car blocks us. 4 cops jump out. To each side. They pounded on our windows on the side. And on that side, they used their feet to kick on the glass. Neither way couldn't work. They grabbed chair, tried to smash car. I thought, if wait here, sooner they'll break the car to get to me. Turned wheel, reversed, through red light, got away. Turned corners, outsmarted them. Called my sis. My sister said, another group of cops hit home to search it. Searched company too, at that moment. I didn't know what had happened. Yanked battery, SIM card, without hesitation, drove 5 days straight. I traveled from the northeast Shenyang, passing Beijing, Tianjin, Shanxi, crossing the Qinling, arriving in Sichuan. Then, from Sichuan to Guizhou and Yunnan. Found trafficker, hit Myanmar, hitched cargo ship, followed the Mekong River to Thailand, Thailand's Golden Triangle, rested Chiang Rai, border zone. It was like this all the way till Thailand, stayed 2 months. Frank grabbed my passport. Embassy got it back. He retrieved it for me. He flew to Thailand and delivered the passport to me. Then, I got the makeup entry stamp, flipped to Canada, then to US.
This journey was really perilous. Once you make up your mind to leave China, you cannot stay there anymore.
They had cars tailing sis. Daily routine. Followed her. Ditched my phone. No trace on me, but they wanted me. Set trap for me. No halt, no doubt. Car slept nights. Made Yunnan border. Miles away, recited master's verse. Gained new insight. It goes, galloping 10,000 miles, breaking demon formations, killing all evil schemers, eliminating wicked gods, Who cares about your thick fog or fierce wind swirling? Mountain rains along the way wash off dust from the expedition. Of course, there were plenty of thrilling moments during the smuggling journey. For instance, like in my case, we spent 2 days crossing the virgin forest on the Mekong River. We ran into some really nasty weather with heavy rain. This was like super heavy rain, complete with booming thunder and lightning. The small open boat was vulnerable from all sides. You feel that thunder cracking right above your head. Needless to say, the boatman wasn't exactly up for forging ahead. He tied the boat to a big tree in the virgin forest and secured it. And in the middle of all this crazy rain and thunderstorm, I'm thinking, back in the day, monks used to have the protection of the deities. I'm a true believer too. So I've got the protection of deities too. I wasn't even scared, my heart was steady, and I straight up fell asleep. I mean, I knocked out even with that thunder booming. We were on this Laotian cargo boat. Although we spoke different languages, he was still kind to me. Made fish for me and gave me steamed rice in a bamboo tube. He stopped at a floating gas station. I looked at the sign across the river that said Golden Triangle Special Region. I had seen in movies about drugs in the Golden Triangle. And then he quickly docked. In a moment, a pointed-nose speedboat approached us, and he observed the water patrol team's position. After avoiding them, he quickly approached the shore. The Mekong River was very narrow, at the Golden Triangle border with Thailand. After docking, someone on a motorcycle signaled to me from above, so I got on it. He rode the motorcycle and took me to a hotel. I thought, wow, they really provide a seamless service. The person who helped me cross the mountain was from Myanmar. He mentioned that going over that mountain was pretty risky. He said he got busted by the Chinese police the day before. The path was actually quite popular, and on the day we made our way, loads of vehicles were hauling cattle. The thing was, they were dodging taxes, so they swarmed up the mountain with their cattle carts. This guy, he'd usually scope out the route when picking up passengers. But there was this one day he wasn't planning to take anyone, so he skipped the whole route checking deal. The head honcho from that Myanmar village, he coughed up 1,200 RMB to bail him out, but on the day he picked me up, he was all about scouting that route in advance. He made sure there were 0 police checkpoints. Then he came to pick me up. So yeah, there were plenty of hazards all the way. Once I hit that hotel in Thailand, the police showed up like lightning within 10 minutes. They wanted to see my passport. But I didn't have one. Actually, they were in league with the human smugglers. The snakeheads. Those guys were seasoned extortionists. They'd intimidate you, especially when they knew you had nothing left. Me and my mom made it across the border together, and they found 40,000 RMB on her. Then they went, hand over 20,000, and we might just let you off. If we didn't pay, they threatened to toss us into an immigration slammer and ship us right back to China. We were like, hold on, we're heading to the United States, and you've taken everything. I couldn't even afford my flight. Then we haggled it out with them. Eventually, we handed them 13,000 RMB. After that, they cut us loose. Oddly enough, even after letting us go, they still gave us a hand. See, from the Golden Triangle border region, all the way to Bangkok, the Thai capital, there were these 3 checkpoints. No passport, no pass. So, he found this Thai guy, a big, hefty dude with fiery red hair, driving a pickup truck, and he gave us a ride. We also picked up a few young girls from Myanmar. The truck had 5 seats, but he crammed 7 of us inside. As we made our way towards Bangkok, the first checkpoint was guarded by soldiers. He talked to them in Thai, and they waved us through, as if they knew him. Then came the second checkpoint. We were about 100 or 200 meters away, and I spotted soldiers on both sides. They had set up wooden stakes, forming a narrow passage. Suddenly, the rain started pouring, a proper downpour. The soldiers were caught off guard, and they all dashed for cover, scattering away. The Thai guy was overjoyed, laughing his head off. He just drove right on through. During that ride, he managed to pull off 5 drug deals. I saw him making calls and popping some stimulants. Then a black sedan pulled up, and they exchanged something. He handed over money, and he got drugs in return. Later on, they swung by a small stall selling lamb skewers. As we approached, the stall owner hurriedly shut up shop. Then the Thai guy slipped inside for the deal. They swapped things out, and he left. This happened 5 times along the way, but he kept on popping those stimulants or drugs. They were potent and mind-altering. He hadn't slept in 15 hours. And then, he hit the highway. He was all pumped up and spotted a sports car, a sleek convertible sports car. He decided to give chase. The sports car probably thought, are they after me? So, The two vehicles started racing on the highway. I glanced at the speedometer. It reached 180 miles per hour.
It was seriously dangerous.
Yeah, seriously dangerous. You were literally a step away from potentially losing your life on that journey. Looking back now, it's a story I'm telling. But at the time, when you really think about it, it's like I had some sort of divine help. Like someone was watching out for me.
Your experiences are truly rich, very rich.
Yeah, even when we were getting that temporary entry stamp, we ran into a good Samaritan, someone who lent a hand. There was this fellow practitioner in Thailand. He took me back to the border to sort out the temporary entry stamp, because just having the US visa won't cut it in Thailand. You've entered Thailand unofficially. Without getting the entry stamp in town, leaving the country won't be possible. So, he took me there, even though the driver said the immigration office was closed on Saturdays. But we thought, let's just check it out. After all, we had traveled for 10 hours, so we went there. And luckily, that day, the immigration officers were having some event. Officers from nearby immigration offices had gathered for the event. They were recording videos and taking pictures. One immigration officer, a captain with 3 stripes and 1 star, welcomed us. The Thai practitioner said, "Look at him. He's got US visas, Thai visas, and even Canadian visas. Why would he need to sneak into Thailand when he can fly in?" It's because they're persecuted by the Communist Party. If they don't hurry, they'll face persecution. So, he entered Thailand quietly. Now he's here to fix that. What can we do? He got it. He said, "I can help you." Then he made a call and got us a number. He gave us a phone number. When I saw him helping me, I said, "Thank you," out of the blue. He started talking to me in Chinese. He said, "Don't thank me, we're connected by fate from afar." Seeing him, I thought, "How come you speak Chinese?" He replied, "My university is in Taiwan, but my Chinese isn't that great." So, I followed his lead. Getting the entry stamp cost 1,300 Thai baht. Once I got the stamp, I thanked him once more. He advised, "You need to leave Thailand within 2 months. You only have a legal stay of 2 months. Otherwise, you'll be illegal again. I might not be able to help you by then." So, throughout this journey, I encountered helpful people at every step.
The report mentioned that you traveled with your father to other places. At that time, your father was already in a wheelchair. It must have been challenging to take your father everywhere.
Talking about my father, when I first started practicing Falun Gong, he was strongly against it. He had a successful business and wanted me to take it over. He was also influenced by atheistic teachings. When he learned about my Buddhist practice and my focus on truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, he couldn't comprehend it. He tried many ways to stop me from practicing. He said, "If I catch you practicing in the park today, tomorrow, I don't care how many people are there, I'll kick you." I switched to practicing in different places. Whenever he saw me cultivating at home, he'd smash my tape recorder. If I was reading books, he'd tear them up. Sometimes during meals, he'd flip the table and scatter everything. He even said he wanted to sever our father-son relationship. He made all sorts of threats to try to stop me from learning. In 2001, he had a stroke, and I took care of him in the hospital for 2 months. After being discharged, he became partially paralyzed. Later, he had more illnesses. He ended up completely immobile, in a wheelchair. He couldn't stand up, and he lost control of his bodily functions. He was sick for 19 years. My mother passed away 3 years before him. During those years, I took care of him by myself, but we still managed to travel to many places, like Taiwan, Japan, Hawaii, Las Vegas, Alaska, Canada, and many other places. In 2018, I took him to Orlando's Disney World alone. I felt he was getting bored just staying home. I thought getting him out might lift his spirits. As for me, I've gathered quite a bit of experience in taking care of disabled individuals. It's quite challenging for the people to transfer him from the wheelchair to the car because he can't move at all. But I've figured out some tricks and gained a lot of experience. Actually, I can manage it on my own, transferring him from the wheelchair to the car. So, I've got the strength, and I'm confident. Every day, I say to him, "Dad, do you know why I love you so much?" Then I kiss his forehead, and he responds, "I wasn't a good father." So I ask him, "What do you mean?" And he says, "I burdened you." So I tell him, "Why would you say that? When I was little, didn't you take care of me, right? You looked after me so carefully. You didn't see me as a burden. Now that you're older, it's only natural for me to care for you, regardless of whether you're disabled, whether you can move. I do what I can. Every year, I take you out once. Sometimes the places we visit aren't very accessible for the disabled. If there are stairs, I carry you on my back and help you get round.
So, what are your hobbies in your spare time?
I have many hobbies. For instance, I enjoy ice skating, swimming, playing tennis, chess, and table tennis. I'm really passionate about sports. Even in the cold Northeast China, I used to go swimming. I would swim every day, even when it was snowing heavily. People would ask me why I was going. I replied, swimming. I'm also really into magic. I can perform a lot of exciting magic tricks.
Can you show our audience a small magic trick at a later time?
Sure. Okay.
Your hobbies are quite diverse. Are there any other hobbies you have?
Apart from magic tricks, I'm particularly passionate about traditional Chinese culture. Once, when I traveled to Xi'an, I saw something fascinating. The original is in the Shaanxi History Museum. It was truly marvelous. The spout is shaped like a lion's mouth, the handle like a phoenix, the body like a lotus flower. But the most amazing part is that the lid is fake and can't be opened. So, how can it hold water? There's a hidden hole at the bottom of the pot, and water is poured in from there. Once filled, when the pot is turned upside down, not a drop will leak. Then it pours out normally from the spout. This is known as the phoenix reversing pot. And also, there's this very special cup, known as the Nine Dragons Righteousness Cup. It appears like an ordinary cup with a dragon's head. If you pour in 1/3 or 2/3 of alcohol, it behaves normally and you can drink from it as usual. But if someone gets greedy and says, no, fill it to the brim, in the case, a hole at the bottom causes it to leak. It doesn't leak the excess part, but instead, it leaks everything until not a drop remains. So, when Zhu Yuanzhang, the Taizu emperor, hosted a banquet for his ministers, he used this cup. He said, modesty brings benefits and self-satisfying leads to loss. Don't be greedy. You can't gain much from it, especially for ministers. Greed is detrimental. Ancient people had principles even in their eating habits, which is why I find Chinese traditional culture remarkable. In that year when I went to Taiwan, I bought a King Ming Shang scroll, which cost me $1,000 and is 11 meters long. It depicts scenes from the countryside to the city, the Imperial Palace. When it reaches the Imperial Palace, I noticed, among the cranes and spotted deer owned by the emperor, there's also a white deer depicted. How did ancient weddings look? What kind of fishing nets did ancient people use? Boatmen were pulling a boat, using a large boat for transportation. There was even a bridge. The sail was lowered when crossing the bridge. Someone stood atop the bridge directing, lower it, lower it. Each detail has its own story. Painting also includes shooting games and street performances, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Young shepherds stand on the backs of cows to see better, since they are short in stature. However, a stubborn cow in the painting runs away. A young shepherd pulls it back, wanting to watch as well when others are watching. He tugs it back forcefully, determined to be part of the scene. The whole painting is full of vivid scenes, each one interesting. There's also a building called Mingguan fortune-telling place, and another called Juyuke. A woman is seen bidding farewell to guests. In short, the painting depicts various scenes, capturing the life of the capital city at that time. Overall, I find it especially fascinating. There are over 4,000 characters depicted in it.
And you just mentioned one called Juyuka. What concept is that?
Juyaoke is a type of supernatural skill, mentioned in the book Falun. For instance, if someone has a boil on their body, they might use a skill, which involves burning incense and paper, chanting incantations. Through certain rituals, chanting incantations, burning paper, drawing circles and dots, the boil could shrink and stop hurting. This practice can treat minor ailments, not major ones. It involves supernatural skills and ancient art. It falls into the category of burning incense, burning paper, drawing talismans. Warding off evil spirits sits all under this umbrella. It's called Juyaoke. This concept is also reflected in the King Ming Shang too.
You mentioned earlier about a white-colored deer. Does it have any special significance?
That's how I see it. Ordinary deer we see today are typically yellowish. In the past, there were white deer, divine deer, including the king of deer, a white deer. In the King Ming Shang too, I noticed a large stone. 16 horses were pulling the stone, with 3 horses idle behind. When it comes to the imperial palace, there was an artificial mountain, towering and splendid. It's a representation of imperial life, with rare and magnificent animals.
You've traveled to many places. Is there any place that has left a particularly deep impression on you that you particularly like?
That is Highway 1 in California. I'm currently a guide for customized private tours, and I often take clients along Highway 1. The attractions are densely packed along this route, so you spend more time enjoying than moving. The attractions there are all unique. For instance, the first stop is Monterey, home to the old Fisherman's Wharf, the first of its kind in the United States. Even San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf was named after it. Monterey was under Mexican and Spanish rule for 70 years, and there's an aquarium there. This aquarium is connected to a deep-sea trench in the Pacific Ocean. The aquarium incorporates the Pacific Ocean's trench. Then, you have the famous 17-mile drive, a stretch with the most breathtaking scenery enclosed within. It includes Pebble Beach, one of America's top golf courses. It has an 18-hole course and is renowned. There are bird islands, and these birds, half the height of a person, accompany golfers and aren't afraid of people. They move leisurely. The natural environment is remarkable. On that trip of my stowaways, which took just 5 days, I traversed the entire China. Throughout, I thought, everywhere is famous. When I crossed the Kindling Mountains, it was tunnels one after another through the mountains. Clouds shrouded the mountainsides, and I passed through places like the birthplaces of legendary figures, like Emperor Tang Yao, Yu Shun, and Xie Yu, as well as Zhu Renggui's hometown. I didn't visit them during my escape, but I hope to see China's beautiful landscape someday. When I left China in May 2013, I immigrated to Thailand illegally, but in April, I went to Beijing. Coincidentally, I had a friend, a fellow practitioner in Beijing. He brought along another business partner, also a fellow practitioner, who took us on a special journey. In 1990, that practitioner began their practice. Master started publicly teaching Dafa in 1992. Master taught a few disciples, including him, in 1990. He guided us to follow the Master's path that year. He also participated in the 1992 Eastern Health Expo. During that event, Master distributed the Gong to some disciples. He was among the disciples who received the Gong. Curious, I asked, "What illnesses do you treat?" He replied, "I specialize in treating heart diseases." When someone with heart issues came, and a student with Tianmu Celestial, I observed, a spiritual entity was found behind the person. Chinese medicine attributes it to meridian and qi blockages. Western medicine sees it as heart vessel blockages. From advanced Qigong perspectives, there's a spirit entity in a different space. This entity isn't necessarily in the heart. It could be in the arm, leg, or elsewhere. He would locate and grab the entity. Then the person's heart condition would improve. He used a hand-grabbing technique. After that, he became famous for his ability to treat heart diseases. Many people, including relatives and friends, came to see treatment. Initially, he didn't charge any fees, but later when people gave him gifts and money, he accepted. Eventually, this hand-grabbing ability faded away. It's a bit of a pity. He demonstrated something to me. Due to their early learning in the 90s, the Master was cautious and took a few disciples before publicly teaching the Dafa to assess the situation and make adjustments. What they were taught was different from our teachings. For instance, in our standing exercises, we stand still, while he assumed a posture with slow movements, though at a very slow pace. After demonstrating it, I noticed he was sweating heavily, as it demanded significant strength. I don't know how it evolved in other dimensions, but I saw him sweating profusely. It really expanded my horizons. This senior practitioner shared stories from the past, and took us to the back garden of the military museum, where he said the Master used to practice with them. He pointed to a rock and said, "This is where the Master meditated." He recounted, "Once while we sat on these rocks, Master led us in cultivation practice. Suddenly, the weather turned gloomy. Thunder and lightning followed. Despite the impending heavy rain, they continued to sit, seeing Master sitting steadfastly. And then, unexpectedly, no rain fell. The rain never came despite the thunder and lightning. After an hour of meditation, they finished and rode bicycles back home. As he entered his home, the rain poured down. He also shared some other stories with us. He guided us to Beijing's Dazhu Temple, where a white pagoda stands. He shared that Master practiced there with them. Under the white pagoda, inside Dazhu Temple's main hall, are 24 bronze guardian Buddha statues, human-sized. Unique in the country, only one hall with statues as tall as people. Then, we visited Jitai Temple, where teaching videos were filmed on the back hill. He was there at the time. Volume 2 was written there too. The Master stayed for months. Our guide showed us around. In the main hall, called the Xuanfu Hall. It's not for ceremonies but monk salvation. There, I captured something miraculous. A purple light beamed on my head with a cross-like halo, like an angelic glow. I visited the Big Buddha temple too. It's in County, Shinjo. During the anti-Japanese war, it gained fame. A Japanese shell hit but didn't explode. It hit Shakyamuni Buddha's arm, breaking it. I encountered strange things there too, when I bowed to each Buddha and closed my eyes. I saw flickering fire, a bright light. The light vanished when I opened my eyes. When I tried this with other statues, none of them had that effect. Only one statue had that effect. I asked the guide, and coincidentally, when she was introducing the halo, above the ancient Buddha image on the Millennium mural, she said that known as the placement of the mysterious pass. I asked her how she knew all of this. She said she overheard us talking, and she practices Falun Gong too. She became a practitioner and get converted directly by the master. How did that happen? She worked in the temple for years. When the master visited during her tour, master stretched out his hand. She recalled being a direct disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha. Never left the temple through lifetimes. She wasn't a monk in this life, but worked as a guide throughout countless lifetimes. She never left the temple. She remembered her past lives and identity. I asked her, "How about this statue?" The guide said this statue is Kirkuchanda Buddha. Before becoming a Buddha, he cultivated with the master. That's what she shared. Thinking of cultivation, I recalled a strange meditation experience. People with celestial eyes saw me as an old Taoist, with a white beard and long hair. This happened in 3 different places, with 3 different people with open celestial eyes. I think it could have cultivation in my past life.
Next, let Mikey perform a magic trick for us.
Now, just a regular rubber band. Just a regular rubber band. No matter how hard I pull, it won't come out. No matter how hard I pull, it's impossible to get it out. From the right, left, top, bottom, it won't come out. Watch closely. Hey, it's out.
Wow, that's amazing.
1 ring, 1 chain. Used it in weddings. For example, the bride and groom toasting to me at the spot. I stacked the bride and groom's hands together. Normally, this ring would fall down. True love makes it work. 1, 2, 3. Hey. Wishing happiness and unity. Groom was happy. He put it on. Magic trick, a blessing that surprises people.
Wow, your magic has reached a level of perfection. You are a master at it. Today's harvest is remarkable. Listening to your talk has been very inspiring for me. Thank you so much, Mike. You have spent so much time chatting with us and sharing so much.
Thank you for the chance to share my story. Haha.
Thank you very much.